To understand the Crow Mauler, we must first understand the man who he once was, Rudimer. Rudimer is a captain in the military of Rondon and was tasked with overseeing the dungeons of fear and hunger once the Rondon army had captured Lagarde. Captain Rudimer and a significant amount of his men brought Lagarde to the dungeons of fear and hunger and locked him up there, most likely completely unaware of the dangers the dungeons presented when they first arrived. Normally, a whole unit of men guarding one man would seem excessive, but in Lagarde's case, having so many men guard him just made sense, likely causing Rudimer not to question the assignment. However, this ignorance of the situation he now found himself in would soon pass, as he came into acquaintance with the keeper of the dungeon, Torturer. Torturer, as you can probably guess by his name, has a knack for torturing people. It's honestly his favorite pastime, and he has all time in the world for it while residing in the dungeons of fear and hunger. We first learn of Torturer through the Captain's Diary 1, written on the 16th of January, 1590. Rudimer says this: Torturer once again went too far with his wicked methods, and then continued to say, "Sometimes I think I would do this world justice if I just offed him with my blade." This shows that Rudimer is at the very least morally sound, as he clearly sees issues in the methods that Torturer employs on his victims and debates betraying a fellow Rondonian soldier in order to protect the prisoners that he oversees. Having any sort of compassion in the dungeons of fear and hunger is unexpected, even more surprising when it's compassion towards the people you're holding captive. Over the next several months, Captain Rudimer begins to fully recognize the situation he now finds himself in. Nearly 3.5 months later, we receive an update from Captain Rudimer, once again in the form of one of his diary pages. Surprisingly, Rudimer seems to have maintained complete control over his sanity in these 3 months since the first note, testament to his high moral character and steadfast mind. In this note he says, "There are powers at play here that we as mere mortals cannot fight against. I've come to accept the madness." End quote. Recognizing the terrors of the dungeon while avoiding succumbing to it is something that most can't say they've done over any amount of time. In the Captain's Diary 2, he goes on to question Rondon's orders and shows pity towards Lagarde after being ordered to hand him over to the cultists at the orders of his higher-ups. For nearly 8 months total, Captain Rudimer resided in the dungeons of fear and hunger, and for those 8 months he managed to keep his sanity, a feat that is unlikely for anyone else to ever accomplish. Due to his incredible mental fortitude and incredible survival instinct, it is unsurprising that he's such a valued soldier to the King of Rondon. The king would go on to send his own son, Prince Buckman, with a party of elite knights to attempt to recover Captain Rudimer from the dungeons after hearing of some of the issues the dungeons was facing. However, when they arrived, they wouldn't find the captain. On the 5th of August, 1590, Rudimer would write in the third and final Captain's Diary. In this diary, it was incredibly clear that Rudimer had finally lost his mind. In this diary, he speaks of ever-changing patterns that occupy shapes that follow him through his dreams and to his waking hours. He is completely unsure of what this shape and its patterns mean, but he realizes that only he can see these shapes. He realizes that these shapes have chosen to haunt him. They've chosen him, and because of this, he was no longer a mere human. He was becoming different, shedding his human skin. Along with this new form, he was given a new purpose. He says, "Maybe I'm the only sane one left to acknowledge this. Is it my responsibility to clean up everything once again? The crows, they give their testament to my suspicions. I will start the purge. I will root out the madness. Only I can do it." End quote. Captain Rudimer knew better than anyone the horrors of the dungeons. He had lived there for 8 months and had seen more than anyone. He was well versed in the horrors. He saw his own men turn into monsters and used his last drops of sanity to come to the ultimate conclusion: that every creature tainted by the evils of the dungeons must be eliminated. He himself would cleanse the world of this madness and serve as a stalwart keeper of these dungeons eons after he claimed every soul inside. Unfortunately, he would never see the completion of these goals. The Captain's Diary depicts the tragedy of an incredibly great man known as Rudimer. However, that tragedy, a hero was born. The monster that we know as the Crow Mauler. The Crow Mauler is far from being considered a hero in the traditional sense. However, after looking through the lens that Fear and Hunger provides, it becomes clear that his scorched earth policy when it comes to the dungeons gives him this label. Captain Rudimer could have abandoned his post. He could have fled the dungeons. He could have become one of the barbaric monsters that pursue pleasure like his own soldiers did. He could have simply taken his own life. Instead of these options, he became a purifier. He became a slayer of evil. He became completely dedicated to calling the powers of the dungeon. He became a hero. He became the Crow Mauler. I would now like to talk about some of the more technical mechanics of the Crow Mauler regarding the gameplay of Fear and Hunger. When the Crow Mauler is active on the floor, he generally only pursues the player character and ignores the other enemies present. This is lore inaccurate to the Crow Mauler. The likely reason is he's programmed not to attack other creatures in the dungeon, because he would simply kill them all and destroy the difficulty progression for the player, making the overall gameplay experience worse. Another thing I would like to discuss is the similarities between the Crow Mauler and Ragnavadil's, I don't know how the fuck to say his name, guys, the similarities between them are striking. Both reach the same conclusions about the dungeon. And Rag's rank ending is the ending that Crow Mauler was pursuing himself. If Rag had arrived to the dungeon sooner, maybe there's a chance that him and Rudimer could have pursued this goal together. The last thing I'd like to discuss is if the Crow Mauler could ever have accomplished his goals, assuming that Rag never intervened. I'm assuming that Rag and the Crow Mauler have the same requirements of success in this section, including killing the 4 main new gods. The Crow Mauler is extremely powerful and is similarly durable when it comes to the health of many of the new gods. However, personally do not believe that he would have the power to defeat all 4 of the new gods, and find it unlikely he would even be able to beat one of them without suffering life-threatening injuries. Other than the new gods, however, I believe that the Crow Mauler makes quick work of every other enemy and is on the doorstep, power-wise, being considered a type of god himself. So thank you guys for watching. That's the end of my video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and if you didn't enjoy, like and subscribe anyway. It only helps me. It doesn't hurt you. I'd really appreciate it. Love you. Also, I'm sorry if I pronounced the words wrong. There's not really like a guide to how to pronounce words when it comes to Fear and Hunger, and there probably is now that I said that. Someone's going to go create that. Imagine. Anyway, but thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate the support and all that. Stay blessed, stay happy, and yeah, bye.